Good evening. Welcome to Coach World TV. I'm Terry Yoffe, and tonight is my guest. I actually have a very, very interesting guest tonight.
Thank you.
Suparna Bhasin. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Great. And Suparna is founder of She Creates Change, which is a women's empowerment company designed to help women find and follow their dream. Whoa. Now that's impressive. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
being here
Thank you for
tonight.
having me. I appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome. So, what inspired you? I know we had a great dinner and we talked a lot. What inspired you to start a company that has such wonderful implications and what it can do to help women?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people have asked me this recently, and even specifically as to why I've chosen to work with women over men and in the way that I do. And it's funny, I really believe that right now is our time as women to understand better who we are in the world in general, but also who we are in the world of work. So a lot of my women come and they're very introspective around who they are and what they're looking for out of their lives and specifically out of their work. They feel very disheartened with the workplace and they make a lot of
Absolutely.
money, but they're very unfulfilled. They don't feel like their life has meaning.
Absolutely.
So the business, I just was inspired by helping women really find their service in the world and make themselves better. And I was just mentioning to you, really help them be the change they want to see in the world, as Gandhi said, and then from that place change the world. So She Creates Change is about oneself and then about giving back and making the place around you better, whether that's on a local level, on a national level, on a global level, just by reaching others and helping make positive change everywhere you go.
That's that's fascinating, and one of the things as a coach, when I speak to people, I talk about until you can transform yourself, you can't transform your business, the world, or anything else.
Yeah.
And this feels like it's really about giving women their, helping them find their power,
Yes,
so
that's right.
that they can go out and really be transformed themselves,
That's right.
and then do what they want to do out in the world.
That's right.
When did the light bulb go off for you about, I know you've had several businesses.
Yes.
This is just really feels like a progression
Yes,
of
that's right.
what you had. So would you be willing to kind of start at the top and
Yes,
just
sure.
take us through it,
Absolutely.
your path?
Yeah, so I actually started like many of my clients coming out of a liberal arts school, not really knowing at all what I wanted to be when I grew up and feeling very lost in that question and having gone to a
Yeah.
really good school, but still feeling like I don't really know where to start. And so I feel like I took every class I was supposed to take in college, but never one on myself. And so I graduated and took the first job that was offered to me in financial services,
Right.
which, seemed logical and good enough and had a really great experience, but really found myself walking around the halls at one point really feeling like, gosh, I don't really feel like I belong here. And so it was around 1996, 1997 that I had an awakening around realizing that I loved to help people, but not around their finances, not around their asset allocation strategies and their market. And I had gotten licensed and I did did a lot of training and development in a regional bank, but that wasn't my calling. So that was when I left to go to New York, to go to Columbia, to be thinking I was going to become a therapist. So to make a very long story short, through that process, I actually, and as I mentioned to you, I tell this story often because the book is so wonderful. I came across a book called If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. And when I flipped it around, I saw that the author had just graduated. I had just graduated with my master's in organizational psychology, psychology of the workplace. She had a PhD in the same degree in organizational psychology. She was a life coach, a workshop facilitator, a speaker, and a writer. And that was the moment that I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was probably at that time, it was 1999, so 13 years ago, I'll be 41, so it was my late 20s.
Uh-huh.
And that's the time actually that women find me. Most of my target market population is late 20s, early 30s, and they're just awakening to their authentic self. And it's actually a time called your Saturn return, where things are really in flux and you're being asked to align with your true values. So that's what I did, and from there, I took a couple more jobs that still trying to find my way into this world of transformation, and then did a really wonderful program called Living the Dream, where I got 8 weeks of rigorous training and continued with that. And then in 2002, I started my first business. And
Tell us about that.
yeah, that was an interesting experience. I think I learned everything not to do in business in my first business. And I had someone say to me once, "If you're going to fail, fail fast." And I thought that was really interesting. So I don't know if I failed fast enough in that one, but I learned a tremendous amount. I actually loved my ex-partner. She was a wonderful woman. And our vision in that business was, we thought we'll coach 5 entrepreneurs that have a global vision. So our company was called Aya, which meant grace. And the tagline was partnering with visionary leaders for global transformation. So we thought if we coach 5 companies, entrepreneurs that want to reach millions, that through coaching and midwifing their dream will reach millions. So in theory, this seemed good, but there were a lot of challenges around this, including a lot of these companies just needed funding. And I really felt called to work with the masses more and to speak and do a lot of the things I'm doing now. I think somehow deep down I knew that was my path, and she had another path, and so we left each other in '04. And 6 months later, I met my last partner and found a company called Passion into Practice. Find what you love and turn it into what you do. And that really felt more on point, because 10 years before, I had really uncovered that my life purpose is actually to connect people with their life purpose. And I really knew that. And I said that to a friend of mine in 2001. I told him that. I said, "This is my life purpose." So when I met this woman, I knew that that company fit that. And so that was my training ground for 4 years. I really consider myself even today a social scientist. Like, I'm very fascinated by human behavior, and my study in the last 10 years has been, what does it take for a human being to be happy and fulfilled in their life and their work? That's the question I've been in, and so it's been one big study running a big old experiment.
It's a big question.
It's a big question, but it's, you know,
An
a lot
answer,
of years and a lot
yeah.
of clients later is I've done it on myself, and I've been doing it with my clients, experimenting with them on what does it take to be successful according to the truth of who you are, not successful according to society. Maybe might be a lot of money, but you're really not happy. So then I did that for 4 years, and it was time to end for a lot of reasons, and I did. And then a year later, in 2009, August, right now, August 15th, 2009, I started She Creates Change. And I will say that's been my proudest endeavor. That's been the most authentically my own. I created it. I created the technology, the intellectual property that goes with it. And we're turning 3 on Wednesday.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So it feels like the 2 things you had prior kind of put you to the path of She Creates
100%.
Change. More so, I just from listening to you, the
Yeah.
second one, Finding Your Passion,
Yes.
which I think is today's world. There's such uncertainty
Yeah.
that, you know, change is the new norm.
Yeah.
That everything is about change. I think years ago you knew exactly what you were doing. Women stayed home. I mean, I'm going way
true.
back.
It's true.
Men worked, or women went to work and they were secretaries, or they did this, but it was defined.
Yeah.
People knew. Today, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
People come out of school that have gone to school, kids, and they try something, and I don't really want this. And then, you know, you get into your late 20s, early 30s, and as a coach, I tell a lot of my clients, the 20s are years to experiment.
Yeah,
where
totally.
you can go out and try this and try that and try that. But then when you come to your 30s, late 20s, 30s, you really need to be settling on something. So it's not surprising that
That's right.
your target market is this group.
That's right. It's totally right. And that's the time they come saying it's time for me to settle on something, and this doesn't feel like who I am, and I'm searching for answers. And I think you're right on, Terry. I think years ago we all understood our role. No one pushed back. No one had the wherewithal. It wasn't about that. And we're beyond survival now, where we're awakening on a higher level, and we're asking deeper questions
Absolutely.
about who are we and why are we really here, and our survival needs have been met maybe by the previous generation. So a lot of kids born today are born with a bit of a silver spoon and being shuttled around, and they don't have the same problems, you know, a
Right.
generation or two ago. So now they're faced with different questions, and so a lot of them are taking on life in a new way. And I have the privilege of working with these people, and you know what's so wonderful to see and to witness is how much these people are driven to make a difference in the world, and how much they care about leaving the world a better place.
Yes, and their that might be their mantra, and I'm wondering, because I'm not I don't know for sure, is that's their calling as opposed to how many millions can I make,
Yeah, they're not looking at that
or
anymore.
you know, what accoutrements
Yeah.
can I accumulate,
Yeah.
but you know, what can I do to impact
Yeah.
what's going on?
And they've actually started on that track, so they've gone down the track of make a lot of money and be successful, and they've been told to do that, and so they're on that track, but they're left feeling very unsettled. So that's why they're switching over and saying, this isn't working for me. I've
Right.
made the money now, but that doesn't
Right.
seem to be
You know,
enough.
that's so true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how much what happened with the financial crisis had a impact on them
I think it did.
when they saw, you know, what took place and what was uncovered and what kind of got shaken up, for them to say, you know what, this isn't really what I want. I don't know the answer. I'm just kind of throwing it
Yeah,
out there.
I'll tell you in honesty what I think about the 2008 crash and about other things that are going on right now. I think this is a time historically where we individually are being asked to look at our value system and how we live our lives and how we treat our planet and how we treat ourselves and how we treat each other. And simultaneously, we're being asked collectively to look at the way we're running government, the way we're treating ourselves in corporate America. I get clients that say, I'm not allowed to take lunch. I'm being called on the weekends. I'm sitting 12 hours a day. But it's actually inhumane in my mind that you can't leave to take an hour for lunch when technically, legally, you need to be working 8 hours and not more. So I think everything is skewed, and I think the 2008 crash was a symbolic move of the old systems are crashing because they're no longer sustainable, and a new world is being created from that place. So we individually are birthing it, and collectively we're birthing it. And I think it's all happening simultaneous because I think we're all part of it, and we're creating it and co-creating it with the universe. And the universe is saying, guys, this isn't going to work much longer because it's actually not sustainable.
That's very comforting to hear.
I think so.
I
I think we're moving in a positive direction.
Because I'm very struck by an article that I saw in the Times recently about how people are wondering and really upset about the greed and the unconscionable things that are going on, that they don't trust. You know, that there's so much disconnect in companies, and certainly the papers, I mean, are full of them. And I'm not a political person, and I'm not certainly we're not here looking at that, but it's what's under that.
Well, it's the trend.
Right.
I mean, that's actually what's causing people to leave. I mean, Terry, I have to tell you, like, in theory, nobody should be leaving their job right now, right? It's one of the worst economies ever, blah, blah, blah. Yet my women are coming in mass exodus leaving their jobs. I joke that I've helped more people in the last 3 years leave their day job than anyone else I know. Because most everyone else is advising you to stay, and we're coming in saying, this is the time. It's a phoenix from the ashes moment. Let's let it go, and let's have faith and trust that when we're true to ourselves, everything we need will be given to us, and we take a step forward towards that, and everything we need will be given to us. And that's actually how I've been living my life for the last 10 years, and miracles have come to support me to move forward.
So she creates change, and perhaps when somebody starts uncovering their values, and certainly in coaching, what I work a lot with is core values.
Exactly.
You know, what are people's core values? You know, some of them never even heard what is core value. You know, what are your deep core values? And then, are they in alignment with where you're working, with what kind of relationships are you in. I know that when I left the advertising world in '97, I didn't know the word core value,
Yep.
but what I did say is I want to go and play in my own sandbox.
That's right.
I didn't want to be their voice. I wanted to have my own, because clearly my core values were integrity and honesty.
Beautiful.
And that was not what was going on there. But I didn't know all of that then, you know.
Intuitively
but
you did.
but
You
I-
clearly
you
did,
know,
though.
But on some level I
You
did.
did,
And
you
I
did.
left
Your
to
soul
start
knew.
my own rep company where I could be my own boss, until I decided to take a new path called coaching,
Yeah.
which was my calling, was
Yeah.
always wanting to make a difference.
Yeah, that's
So,
exactly right.
you
You are
know.
a She Creates Change woman perfectly. That's it. Is
You know,
really
and-
understanding
and-
who you are and then going for it.
And even in the coaching, and when I coach others, I'm coaching myself as well. I'm going through changes as well, and I'm sure the same is for you.
1,000%.
When you started this company, you know, you and the company were synonymous with each
Still,
other. Yeah,
still, and
right,
I
yes.
always say this: you
Of
always
course.
teach what you need to learn.
Right, absolutely.
And and I just shared with you over dinner. I'm going through a lot of my own life changes right now,
right.
and I know they're for the positive. It's only good things that are happening, but change is intense. Most people would like to stick with what they know, even if they don't like
Yeah.
it, then move into the unknown. And there's one big reason for that, because they're not trusting the unknown. Because they don't believe the unknown is safe, when actually the unknown is the mystery and can be a very beautiful place to live.
Yes, and people are fearful of,
That's right.
you know, I certainly coach around this very issue where people stay in their comfort zone. They, you know, they want their milk and cookies and their little blankie, and even though it doesn't work and it doesn't support them, it's what they know.
It's easier.
And rather than to let go, you know, it's like changing trapezes. You've got to let go of one in order to go to
That's
the other.
right. That's a
But
beautiful
being
visual.
in the limbo is where the change takes place. You've got to let go and trust the limbo,
Yes.
and then before you can hook up to the next trapeze.
That's right.
And that's the challenging part, where that's the growth, is the limbo.
That's right.
And people don't want to go to that. Obviously, with coaching, that's what you help people do, is to step into the turbulent waters,
That's right.
where the change doesn't take place in a comfort zone.
That's right.
So,
And the
you
way
know,
we do that,
yeah,
actually, so that
please.
people feel safe, because I think, Terry, you're so right on. I've never used the trapeze, and I'm going to rip you off now and say, Terry Yoffe is a wonderful coach. Actually, I do. When I rip someone off, I give them credit every time. So I love that. I love it, because I'm very, very visual, and I can see it, and
Right.
it's frightening. You're like, ah! And then you're like, oh, thank God. So, so what we do to support women to make this change in a way that feels safe is, the first thing we do is give them community. So that when they are with a group of women, they also feel very supported. They make very strong bonds with relationships with other women, that they feel like they're not alone. And now they're supported in moving forward, and they're like, well, she can do it, and look what she's doing. And
Yes.
oh my gosh, that miracle happened for her. This can happen for me. And then it becomes a wondrous process and not a scary one.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, is community. And then I've actually, really, I feel it was given to me on some level, but really a co-creation with the universe, a 12 principled process where I walk people through change, helping them really find their center, have them really do the inquiry, deep inquiry around themselves and how they want to serve the world, and really getting to know what's out there, and then the discovery process of what's their calling, what's their vision, what's the plan, and then finally making changes that align with it, and really making choices that are in integrity with who they are. And so it's a very structured process. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's proven. So we know it works, because we've now run it for 3 years, and our business is better than it's ever been. So that's an indicator that this is true. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked. And so we have a process, we have a community, and we have a facilitator. So we have somebody who is a trained facilitator, who really understands transformation, who really understands change, that can hold the space, so that you can walk through it in a safe way. And really, the women that, as long as they apply themselves, are experiencing a tremendous amount of success. And Terry's joining us for an event this week. She'll have a chance to meet some of our graduates.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's fun
Really.
to listen to these stories of, in the midst of this crisis, these women are prospering and flourishing and making their dreams a reality. So it's quite wonderful.
And that's so fabulous, because I do the same thing, obviously,
yeah.
with one at a time.
Yeah.
But it's also helping women change, and well, I do both male
Men
and
and
female.
women, yeah.
But really, it's so amazing, and I'm just picking your energy up here, to watch somebody
Yeah.
change and to
Yeah.
let go
Yeah.
of what doesn't work and support them anymore.
Yeah.
But it's so scary. See, it's not. It's the boulder. It's that the boulder called fear. They're here, and here's the fear, and here's the other side.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of this.
No,
They're
no.
afraid of
Right.
this.
Yes.
That's
Well, I
the
think
key.
I think there's something scary about entering. I'll speak transparently because I do that. I've just been in the same apartment for the last year and a half, and my life became.
I know, you told
Yeah,
me.
I became very sort of settled in what was happening and the business growing a certain way and flourishing. And so I trusted that place I was living and the business the way it was going. And all of a sudden I'm moving into a new place and I'm restructuring my business and ending a relationship and wondering who's the guy now and what's the future going to look like professionally for me, even though I know I'm going to love what I'm going to be doing next. I've been doing a certain thing a certain way and staying within She Creates Change, but getting to do new things and moving into a new place. What's that going to be like in a new neighborhood I've never lived in? What's that going to be like? And I felt scared. And not even
Lots
with
of
the
questions.
not even with the limbo, but even with what is it going to look like?
Right.
Because it was going to be new.
Right.
And I deep down know it's going to be better than it's ever been, but sometimes that's scary. Like sometimes what's scarier than your dreams not coming true is your dreams coming true.
That's,
because
people
you
are
actually
afraid of success.
yeah, it's scary to know that everything I've wished for and wanted is now coming. But I don't believe God gives us anything we can't handle, and that we are supported, and that as long as you trust, everything you need will be given to you, and you take a step forward in everything you need. And I think it's just like anything else; it takes getting used to. And
Right.
I think if we didn't get scared, life wouldn't be interesting. That's what I think.
And that's true. But
Oh,
there
and one
yeah,
more thing
yeah,
about fear. I had
please.
a teacher say to me once, fear is an indicator that your life is getting bigger. I thought that was really cool. Fear coming is an indicator that you're expanding, and it's not about running from it. It's about breathing through it, and moving through it with grace.
So here you are. You need to breathe
I'm
through.
breathing. I'm breathing.
breathe through what all the changes that are taking place.
Yeah.
But the one thing is okay, but they're all kind of the balls are kind of
Yeah.
going up in the
At the
air
same
all
time.
at once,
I know.
and now I got to juggle them
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is really exciting. I just love the energy that's happening,
yeah.
and She Creates Change. I mean, empowering women, men, but empowering women is such a amazing opportunity. One of the things, a workshop I do is called when do you stand in your power,
Oh,
and
yeah,
when do
you
you give
mentioned
it
that.
away?
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same thing
Yeah, well,
as
that's
empowering.
a lot of women, yeah.
It's really the same thing as empowering women. When you come from a place of empowerment, you're coming from a place of being who you are authentically. That's really what it means.
It's 100% what it means.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the other reason it's been so fascinating to work with women is because our changing roles are happening at lightning speed, I think, and in the world, I think we're in a imbalance with the masculine energy that we've all been running. So it's, if we look at it, you mentioned it, back in the 1950s, women stayed home and we were barefoot and pregnant, and men went to work and they hunted and they gathered and they came home, and it was very much a model built on dependency, right? The woman was very dependent upon the man to provide. And then the 70s rolled around and women said, you know what, we're a little tired of this old model. Like now it's the feminist era, we're going to go out, we're going to compete, we're going to get jobs. And the men grew their hair long and said, now it's time for us to get a little feminine energy and smoke a little marijuana and hang out. And so there was a balance.
Burst out.
Yeah, and there was a sort of a shifting, and women, I believe, in the feminist era, ironically moved into their masculine and ran a lot of masculine energy and competed in a masculine. So if you look, a lot of women actually that are very successful in corporate America look very masculine. Like it's a very interesting phenomena. And then now what I believe is happening today is we as women are being asked to step into our divine feminine, which is a very different energy than our masculine and even our divine masculine, because I think there's a couple of icons that embody this. I think Michelle Obama embodies this. You know, she really could have taken the Hillary Clinton, not to make it political, she could have taken the
Please.
Hillary Clinton, no, and there's nothing wrong with Hillary either. She could
Absolutely. I
have
think
gone
she's
that
great.
very, you know, like Hillary, I think, was running the country as much as Bill was. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Michelle really chose to support her husband, raise her children, tend to the community, and really be ruler of the hearth in a way. And that's a very feminine way to sort of fuel what's going on. And so it's interesting to watch the choices she made. And so that's the move of the divine feminine, is a nurturing, helping, supportive role. So it's just fascinating to me to study this and to help all of us unleash those energies and really bring them forth in our life and our work.
And do you think that the divine femininity can also, it can actually, I think, help and assist
1,000%.
today women in the business world?
1,000%.
That they don't. I think when the change was taking place, women thought they had to be over here.
That's right.
Now they're kind of coming back to the center
They
where
have
they
to.
can have a competitive edge, but they
course.
can be the female with whatever male energies they have.
Both
in running,
balanced.
Right, exactly.
It's
the
about
yin
balance.
And the yang,
Yeah, because
being able to,
I actually run a lot of masculine energy when I run my business, but it's about making sure I don't deplete in my feminine. So I have to keep it restored and balanced in order to really fully bring my gifts.
And certainly what you do, you're nurturing and caring and holding a container.
That's right.
For women to come into this safe place and
That's
be
right.
courageous in their changing.
That's right.
Of in the change that is taking place for them to kind of come out the other side.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So I feel very blessed to do this work and to watch women really blossom, because I really believe it's our time, and as women to really claim who we are and bring our gifts and really understand our place in the world of work and our place in the world. And the last thing I'll say is there's, you know, it's a longer conversation, but there's a lot of questions right now. Can women do it all? And can women have it all? And so that's coming up a lot. So that's actually, I think, one of the next questions I'm meant to look at. And I don't have a family, and I've made that choice consciously, and not because I didn't think I could have one, just because it wasn't the right time for me, and I have to decide if that's something I even want. But I want to start working with women to help experiment with them on how they can have it all. Because I think if you have it all, you might as well have it all, if that makes sense.
We're going to have to stop soon, but I want you to give the audience your website.
Absolutely. It's www.shecreates, CREATES, change.com.
That's great. I hope you will go and peruse the website and maybe even decide to jump on Suparna's bandwagon.
Yeah, we have
because
events.
It's certainly a great one.
Yeah, thank you. We have events
really.
every first and third Thursday to come and get to know us at our center in Midtown, and we would love to have you. So thank you.
I want to say, we have a couple of seconds left. I want to say, I want to close without saying thank you so much. This has been
thank
very
you so much. It was so fun.
Energized and wonderful, and just have enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much.
You do that's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yeah, very fun
for everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
I enjoyed it, and thank you for being here tonight. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Thank you.